y'all, welcome back to the Intuitish podcast, where we talk about the power of using your intuition in your daily life, but specifically with holistic wellness and personal growth. And today we are going to be talking about the impact that unhealed emotional wounds and past trauma play in our life, but also the impact that they have on our intuition. Before we get into this episode, I want to do our crystal of the week, which is green fluorite. Green fluorite is a gem of growth and renewal. It also helps to expand our mental, physical, and spiritual consciousness. It helps us to process new information, and it dissolves any fixed ideas and illusions that keep us from aligning with the natural order of the universe, but also the natural order of our life. So that is what makes this crystal a great option to help you if you are currently dealing with trying to heal any emotional wounds or past trauma that you may be experiencing. But it's not also just good for past trauma. If there's any current or recent traumas that have come up for you, then make sure that you are incorporating green fluorite in your daily life and in your daily routine. Or based on our last episode, I'm going to say in your daily rituals, okay? If you know, you know. All right, y'all. So let's get right into this episode. It is so crazy how there are things that happens in my personal life that aligns with the subjects and the topics that I'm going to talk about here on the podcast. So a lot of times I'm getting these story times from real life experiences, and sometimes these experiences are current. So I want to share a story with you, but I want to respect the people's privacy that are in the story. So to do that, I'm going to just come up with some names. Let's name them Bethany and Alice. I don't know why those names came into my head, but that's what we gonna name them, okay? So I was having a conversation with Bethany about Alice. Now, Bethany and Alice are mother and daughter. Bethany is Alice's daughter. So unfortunately, Alice had just experienced losing her mother, and there was some unfortunate events that happened around her losing her mother, where her sisters kind of hid everything from her. So she didn't even know that her mom was sick. And by the time she found out that she was sick, she didn't even get a chance to see her before she passed away. And she also, unfortunately, wasn't able to properly lay her mom to rest or see her mom being laid to rest because they made all of the arrangements behind her back. So I was talking to Bethany about everything that happened, and Bethany was expressing to me what Alice was expressing to her. And, Alice was just really angry about everything that happened. And, she wanted to call her sisters up, and she was crying and just kind of going through all the emotions as you could imagine one would when you lose a parent. And for Bethany, what she was experiencing was frustration by the fact that her mom was venting, but also because she felt like her mom was kind of trying to push some of these things on her to do, like trying to reach out to Alice's sisters, which is her aunts, right? Yes, her aunts on her behalf. And she was just experiencing frustration throughout, this situation. And I remember being on the receiving end of it, and I could hear, because there were some things that Bethany was saying out of frustration, and she was just like, I'm tired of hearing about it. Like, I'm tired of talking about it. And on the receiving end, it just felt like Bethany had some really deep unresolved emotions and feelings that she unfortunately was never able to talk to her mom about, and it shows. Because in this moment where Alice is completely justified in whatever feelings were coming up for her. Unfortunately, Bethany was not even in this moment able to see past it, to be fully open-hearted, fully empathetic, and fully compassionate to her mom. Now, in Bethany's defense, she did not communicate these frustrations to her mom while it was happening, right? Like, she did her best to be present in the moment, but the version of the story and the experience that I got was one that communicated to me, and also just based on, experience and knowledge and information that I have with these people. These are people in my life. So I was able to just pick up on the fact that there was a lot of unresolved things that was impacting her ability to be present in supporting her mom in the way that she needed to be supported with what she was going through. Because at the same time, Bethany had also lost a grandmother. So I think that's enough of this story. I want to go and just dive straight into some of the ways and the impacts that not healing any past trauma and emotional wounds that you might have can impact your life. The first way that it impacts your life is it puts a filter on the lens in which you view and are perceiving the world. And it can completely cloud your judgment to where you're seeing things that are not even there because you're operating out of your traumas and your wounds. So in this example of Bethany and Alice, Alice is completely justified in feeling all of the emotions that might come up when you lose a parent. But unfortunately, Bethany was not able to fully be present and there for her because of these underlying feelings and issues that she had with her. It was more of frustration versus patience and understanding. So it puts a lens on a filter on the way that you are viewing the world. Another thing that it does is it takes up space. So I've been saying this a lot lately. I've been saying that as human beings, we have a limited vessel capacity, right? As infinite beings, we are limitless, right? There is no sort of bounds in terms of the things that we can achieve and what we can really access within this experience. It is truly infinite. But we have a limited vessel capacity, meaning that there's only so much that we can take on before it gets too much. How many times have you experienced overwhelm in your life? It gets to a point where if you're doing too much or too many things are happening, it's almost like a volcano, right? It's like you start to reach your tip, and then this excess of emotions and feelings and experiences, it has to come up, it has to come out, it has to go somewhere. Or another great example of this is when you think about eating, right? You eat until you're full, and if you dare try to eat beyond being full, then you will probably get sick and want to throw up the excess. Because again, as humans, we are limited within our vessel in terms of how much our being, how much our spirits can take on at any given time or any given moment. So a lot of time, our spirits are being weighed down by all of this trauma and, debris and things that we're picking up from the outside world and energies that we're picking up from other people. These things are pulling at us and draining our energy, and it's taking away good source that we can use to allocate somewhere else to help us in our lives when it comes to growing and seeing more fulfillment and more success and happiness driven toward the things that we actually want out of life. And it takes up space. And I think for a lot of us, we feel a strange sense of connection to the things that happen to us, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because it's a part of your experience. But what I mean by that is we feel ownership over these negative and traumatic things that have happened to us. And it's almost like we have to wear it like a badge of honor to continue to remind us that this thing happened to us. But something that I want you to understand is that your experiences are within you. They're embedded with you. So there's no need for you to continue to hold on to the baggage of these experiences. You are automatically connected to your experiences, but you do not have to be connected to the emotion behind these experiences. That is the part of it that needs to be healed and that we need to create a detachment from. Of course, if you are reflecting on your life and these past instances come up, then there is nothing wrong with going to a place and time in your life and being connected to that emotion in the moment. But a lot of us are taking up space with these past emotions and we're constantly reliving them and replaying them on a day-to-day basis. And that brings me into the next thing, which is emotional wounds and trauma can cause us to have a closed heart. So even in the situation of Bethany and Alice, where she was not able, again, she could not extend compassion. She could not extend empathy to a certain degree she was able to, but she wasn't able to fully embody that for her mom because her heart was closed. She put up a wall between her and her mom because of these experiences. And listen, if it's something that me and my best friend used to say all the time is when you put up a wall, you don't get to dictate and control what you block in or what comes in and what goes out. Ain't nothing coming in and ain't nothing going out. And this can have a major impact on your life because you want to operate out of life with an open heart. Even when it comes to using your intuition, you want to operate out of an open heart. Why? So that you're attracting the things and the experiences that are truest to you, that the things that you love, the things that you desire, and your heart is required in order for you to do that. When you think about desires, a lot of times people will say your heart's desires because you need this capacity in order to express and feel these emotions. And speaking of your intuition, it can also mislead you when it comes to what you think your intuition is telling you versus what the other voices are telling you. The other voices being fear or doubt or lack, right? So you can misplace or misjudge one thing for another. You know, these traumas and your wounds, they can play tricks on you. And again, it's going back to that filter. They can make you see things that are not true, make you see things that are not even there because your trauma is jaded. It's almost like seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. You're not getting a clear perspective on the world view for what it is. Another thing that it does is it leaves you stuck in the past. Let me tell you something. A lot of times people, when we experience hurt from people, they continue to go on and live their lives. Sometimes people don't even know that they hurt us because at the end of the day, we're all different, unique individuals. And the same things that may cause you hurt or may cause you to feel disrespected or that may just simply interrupt you, right? Interrupt your energy, interrupt your flow is not the same things that are going to tick this person off, that are going to hurt this person, that's going to throw this person out of their flow. So a lot of the times we are stuck in a space in the past. We're stuck in a certain energy because somebody did something to us. But a lot of times people are unaware that they even did something to us because we're not all operating on the same systems. We don't operate on the same core values and the same set of beliefs. Everybody grew up in different households in different parts of the world, and there are just so many pieces and components that add up to us being different and unique within our own right. And sometimes there is an assumption that we place on other people that you should know that this hurt me, or you should know that this was disrespectful to me, or you should know that this would have a negative impact on me. And a lot of times it's not true. People don't, because people operate on one completely different set of, just a whole different operating system, while you're operating on a different operating system. And this is why communication and learning to understand each other, it's really important, because we have to meet in the middle, right? We have to find common ground. And the way that you find common ground with people is by communicating with them, getting to know them, understanding them better, but also creating the understanding for them of who you are and what it is that you need and what it is that you require. Another thing that it does is it affects your life experience. The way that this impacts the way that you live your life when you are experiencing any sort of trauma and you're operating out of these traumas and these wounds is you start to see obstacles and challenges instead of seeing opportunity. So for people that have this mentality like the world is against me, or nothing ever goes my way, or this isn't happening for me, it's happening to me mentality, it can really jade your perspective. And it also creates a lack of trust. Because if you constantly feel the need to remind yourself that, hey, remember, you can't do this, you don't want to do this because this person hurt you. Remember, the last time you got into a relationship, you got hurt. You sure you want to get into another relationship? Or the last time you got a job similar to this, what happened the last time. You sure you want to take on this job? That kind of thinking creates a lack of trust within yourself. And this is how you start to doubt yourself, when you're not trusting that you will never be or have that same negative experience again. And guess what? If unfortunately you do encounter the same experience, then you now have the knowledge, you now have the information, and you now have that experience to be able to adjust and move differently in the situation. Whatever you did previously, not to do that again. But you don't have to hold yourself hostage and victim to whether it was a mistake that you made, or if you didn't make a mistake, if you just experienced hurt, pain, or any traumatic circumstance that happened to you, you don't have to. The way that you navigate in the world and that you protect yourself is not by not doing the thing again, right? And I'm not talking about trying a new food and not liking it and never trying it again. That's okay. You tried it from a very open-hearted space. You didn't like it. It doesn't align with you. It doesn't match with your taste buds. That is totally fine. But it's a different energy doing that than you not doing something ever again. You essentially depriving yourself of something because you've experienced hurt there. You're creating a blockage. You're not allowing yourself to fully flow in this life experience. And you're not maximizing on this experience, but also you're not maximizing on the full potential and fulfillment within yourself. You never know what could potentially be connected to that thing that you're not doing. You don't know what you can potentially gain from that experience. And you won't know until you start to begin to heal these traumas and these wounds that you have. So I want to talk about the importance of healing. A lot of times, the reason why we hold on to this energy is because it's tied in to something deeper. And you have to ask yourself what that deeper thing is. But one of those things could simply just be acknowledgement, not being seen and not feeling seen and not feeling heard. But at the end of the day, only you need to validate your experience. A lot of times we're looking for these external sources to make things better, right? You did something wrong to me and you have to make it right. But that's not always the case. It doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes you will never get an apology from the person that has hurt you or wronged you, or from the place that has hurt you or had a negative impact on you. So what do you do when you don't have that? You have to reassure yourself and validate yourself in order to let that experience go. So something else that healing does is promote inner peace. When you let go of the baggage, it creates such a state of peace within. It's incredible. The amount of freedom and ease that you feel and lightheartedness that you feel when you don't have the weight of your trauma and your baggage and your wounds on your back, it is a completely different feeling. Think about how you feel when you hurt yourself. And then think about how you feel when that pain is finally gone and you're just content. You're just happy. You're just at peace within your body. Well, you can create that same sense of peace throughout your energy, throughout your internal being, when you decide to heal these traumas and emotional baggage and wounds that you've experienced. So another thing that healing does is it creates a sense of detachment and clarity. For one, you'll no longer feel a sense of attachment to the things that happen to you. And I think for a lot of us, that's why it's difficult for us to heal, because it's so close. We're too close to the experience, right? And not just the experience, the emotion of the experience is what connects us even more so and ties us more so to that experience. So a lot of times we're so close to the experience that it's really difficult for us to heal. But healing creates detachment from the experience. That is what healing is. It's when that, you get a reminder of that experience, or something triggers a memory to that experience, and it does not bother you. It doesn't have a negative impact on you. And the clarity that you get within that, it's like, think about looking at something through a microscope and then looking at something bird's eye view. The further away that you are from that experience, you have a completely different perspective that you're viewing that experience, and it provides clarity. And speaking of that bird's eye view, it puts you on a higher plane vibrationally, to where now you're so much on a higher level or a higher frequency that you're in tune with your life, and you're attracting these experiences to you like never before, because again, you've healed the baggage. Your energy is free. You have nothing holding you down or tying you down. You have all of your energy for you, so that you can start to magnetize and attract the things that you want to you. When you have all this debris and all these other worries and concerns and hurt and pain, those things weigh down your spiritual energy, your mental energy. It weighs down your energy holistically, which prevents you from attracting the things that you want and being on a higher frequency, a higher level, right? A higher level of thinking, a higher level of feeling. It puts you in a different space to attract something different and better for you and more in alignment with you out of your life. So, tips for healing. The first thing that you need to know, you need to start reprogramming your mind about the situation that happened to you. Because again, if you're constantly just looking at this from a place of hurt or from that negative experience, you'll constantly remain in that negative energy. Whether it's looking at affirmations, meditating, whatever it is that you have to do to help you reprogram your mind. They have meditations that are focused on your subconscious mind, and you can get really specific and say, meditation for healing the subconscious mind, or meditation for healing past trauma, or subconscious mind meditation for healing past trauma. Like, you can get really specific like that with these practices, but also something that has helped me and been a real gem for me on my personal journey when I am dealing with wounds and things that I need to heal is, once I understand the experience and I'm able to extract a lesson from the experience, I'm able to let it go. Because for me, my justification is, if I've learned something from the experience, then it was not in vain. So that's something else that you can do, is if you can really look at your past experiences and say, what did I learn from this? Or something else that you can do is say, if this experience didn't happen to me, how different would my life have played out? Because a lot of times these traumatic experiences is what cause us to shift and make these changes in our lives that do serve us for the better, right? There is, of course, it's almost like a balance. So there's good and bad, but it's not all bad. So there are some good things that you've gotten out of life from this negative experience. So how can you now begin to extract the negativity that you're holding on to from this trauma and keep the good? Think about the good things that this negative experience has brought you. How has this shaped your life? In what ways has this experience shaped your life for the better? And maybe that will help you to be at peace with whatever trauma and hurt you've experienced. But let's get into some more tips. Another healing tip that I have for you is self-awareness. Because a lot of times, and this is why I said subconscious mind meditation, because a lot of times we are operating out of our traumas from a very subconscious level. We don't even realize that we're doing it. All we know is that we've been this way for X amount of years, and to us, there is no difference. There is no other version, or for us, this is what it is. This is who we are in the moment. So we don't really have a difference to compare it to because it's so deeply embedded in us. For us, again, like I said, there's no separation between you and the experience. So by creating some self-awareness and just being honest with yourself, and just think about this. For those of us that are not able to identify what it is that we need to heal, just think about it like this. What are the areas in your life that you know, and I mean this not just in your life, I mean this on a personality level, right? When you think about your life and you think about who you are as a person, what are the things that you want to change? Or let's not say change. What are the things that you want to improve? So for me, on an emotional level, I can be reactive, okay? I can be a little reactive and respond negatively in certain situations. And for me, I feel like that's not something that I want to do continuously going forward. If I don't want somebody else's actions to impact me in any way, I don't want it to have a negative impact on me. I want to be able to stay centered in spite of whatever's happening around me. So if somebody says something mean to me, I choose to react to that situation, or I can choose not to react to that situation. I'm reading a book right now called Emotional Wellness, and it is a game changer. And he talks about how a lot of us are very reactionary and how our external environment is like the remote control that controls our emotions and the emotional reactions that we have to these experiences. So just look at your life and think about the things that you want to improve or change, or just start to just pay more attention and closer attention to yourself, and you'll start to pick up on these things. Like, for instance, here's a good example. If there's an insecurity that you have, right? Where if you know that somebody's coming over that you like, and you feel like you need to hide this certain thing or this certain feature because somebody told you got a big nose or you have that. Those are things that are affecting the way and the quality of life that you have, but also the way that you live your life. So just start to pay attention to little things that you do that you're like, why do I really do that? And question everything in your life. Question why you do every single thing. But yeah, the more that you start to question yourself and ask yourself why you do what you do, the more clarity that you'll have and the better understanding that you'll have of what these things are potentially connected to. Because if you ask yourself why you do this, then you have to go down a whole deep thought path to think to the root issue or the root experience that led to this action. So I hope that helps. Another big thing is forgiveness. Listen, in 2018, I did a whole year of forgiveness. I actually used Ayanla Vincent's, if I'm saying her name right, forgiveness book. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's a purple book. I'll try my best to link it down in the show notes if I remember, but it's called 21 Days of Forgiveness. I believe that's the book. When I tell you, but I extended it to the whole year. And I was writing letters to people. I was doing all the things. When I tell you what forgiveness can do for you and can do for your heart is amazing. It can literally lighten your heart. Okay? It literally lightens your heart. And there's something, I think a lot of times we may not understand how unforgiveness impacts us. Like we don't see the effect of that. But the effect is the way that you show up. If you're jaded in any way, if you're constantly upset, there's nothing wrong with being upset. There's nothing wrong. Anger is an emotion just the same way happiness is an emotion. But if you're living there, you're constantly mad or angry or you're avoiding things, those are indicators that there needs to be some healing. But specifically, especially with people and even yourself, there needs to be some forgiveness. Just as a reminder, forgiveness does not excuse the other person's behavior. It just releases your attachment to it. Whatever hold that you might have on that person or what they did, it releases you from it. Another thing that you can do, and I'm going to say this every time, but is meditation and journaling. But the reason why I'm specifically recommending these practices now is because, for one, when you're journaling, you get to learn things about yourself that you otherwise would not pay attention to. So a lot of times it can bring up these emotions and feelings over time, right? I think it's like anything. Like the more that you do it, the more that you'll have to say and the more that you'll feel comfortable with the practice. But journaling can really shed some light on yourself in ways that you could not imagine. So journaling for sure, but also meditation, because again, you're able to pay attention to the thoughts and the things that are coming up in your mind, especially if you're not doing a guided meditation. But I do recommend doing guided meditations too, but specifically for the healing aspect. But if you want to gain awareness about what is going on in your mind and some of the things that you might need to focus on healing, then I would say do silent meditation so you can kind of pay closer attention to the thoughts and the things that are constantly at the front of your mind and that you're constantly thinking about and that's taking up your mental capacity. And something else, the last thing actually that I'm going to mention in this video is to focus on holistic healing, because we tend to separate mind, body, and spirit. Like we don't put these things together as one thread. I was reading again Emotional Wellness, and he talks about how, like, I can't even say how he said it, but essentially what he was saying is that there is a common thread in our emotions. And similarly, there's a common thread between your body, your mind, and your spirit. And a lot of times we look at these things separately and we don't understand that when you're experiencing something in your body, it could be related to an emotion that you need to release. When you're experiencing something in your mind, know that that can manifest in your body. So I would say also focus on looking at your whatever it is that you're currently healing, just looking at your healing period holistically, and focus on, when it comes to your body, taking better care of your body. Try to eat greens, eat more greens and fresh fruits and vegetables. Focus on working out if you can. When it comes to your mind, declutter your mind. Again, writing, journaling, meditating, doing those things so you're paying closer attention to your mind. When it comes to the spirit, meditating, right? Meditating connects you with your sort of spiritual energy. Working with crystals, things like that help you to understand yourself on an energetic level. So I hope those tips were helpful and you're able to take something away from this video/episode for those of you that are listening only. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode this week. And if this resonates with you, reflect on your emotional well-being this week and just kind of see what things come up for you. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend. If you liked it, if you found value in it, please spread the wealth, share the wealth. And with that said, I will see y'all in my next episode. Take care.